very excited about our opportunity for this upcoming season. We definitely have a challenging schedule. I think the difference is that in the past that we really haven't had much expectations as it relates to my first 2 years here. But I think this year it's kind of fool's gold because there is expectations, and I still think that we're on that verge because we don't have a lot of returning players still in that first situation of having a lot of new players on the floor. And so I think that's going to make it a quite interesting season for us because we won't go in and fool anybody anymore. And still being a fresh new team, a lot of new faces, is still a lot to learn. So I think this preseason is going to be a challenging one for us. We got great competition on our schedule, but at the end of the day, if we can work hard and stay injury-free, I think that we have a chance to compete in our SWAC conference pretty well. There's been a lot of questions around Javon Mitchell. As you know, he hasn't officially been released yet, so I don't anticipate having him as we get on the road to go play against Marquette in Middle Tennessee, which put us in an interesting situation because this just happened so late as it relates to getting ready to play. So you're talking about one of the few guys that we had back that had experience in a person that's very integral in what we do, that we won't have him. So replacing him is going to become very difficult, and especially with not being absent with Javon Mitchell and Derek Beltran, and those three were the glue guys. So it's a new situation for us, but we're excited about our opportunity, and we're definitely excited about after we get off the road, coming back home and playing against Tulane Green Waves, a very good basketball team that we know as known as the USA Conference, who moved up to the American Athletic Conference here, the old Big East Conference. So whenever you get a chance to have a team of that magnitude, that type of team, major college team coming into your building, it's a great situation not only just for our players but for our fans, because we get a chance to come out and prove, I think, to the country as well how loyal our fans are and what type of basketball atmosphere we have here as well. So I'm very excited about that opportunity.
We'll take a few questions from Coach Banks.
Coach, well, just looking at the roster for this year's team, you've actually grown big inside. Just who will be in that place of Javon this year?
You know, interesting question. We're still trying to figure out as it relates to going to play this weekend. But we think Frank Snow, because the teams that we are playing out of conference are so big in size, Frank is our next tallest player, not our biggest player, but our next tallest player. So we know out of conference that it's definitely a battle in the war zone, what we call the paint. So we're thinking that we probably, just for size reasons, are going to have to go with Frank starting at the 5 and Kevin Goffney starting at the 4. The only problem with that is that we become so small with the next rotation, and that concerns me a lot. Javon is massive in size. He played well against a Gonzaga team, and he usually play well out of conference because he have a chance to play against bigger guys. And when it comes to conference play, he playing against much smaller guys, and I think he don't get the benefit all the time of the calls because of his size, and then he have to get out and chase smaller guys. So out of conference really been good for him in preseason. So we still trying to figure it out and get a rotation. And but I think that we'll run out there first with Frank Snow at the 5 and put Calvin at the 4.
So your starting lineup will be totally different than it was last year. All 5 new players in the starting lineup.
It appear to be that's probably going to be true to fact. We don't know. Between the next 2 people that had experience was Cameron Monroe and young Darius Johnson, and one of those guys will probably run out there first. Cameron started some last season, and we thinking just from an organization point that we probably need to have him on the floor as it relates to keeping us organized, because he would be the next leader out there on the floor. And I correct myself, Malcolm will start this year. He won't come off the bench. We talked about that over and over and over. And I just decided here last week and having a conversation with him, actually I let him make that call where he was most comfortable at. So we're going to try to run out there with him first instead of bringing him off the bench. and hopefully he can lead some this year. Malcolm just kind of like playing. He's really not a leader. He just kind of like playing, so I wanted to make sure he was comfortable as possible.
What are the advantages and disadvantages of playing a program like Marquette on the road right out of the gate?
Well, you know, very good program, a top 20 program. Year in and year out, is a great buzz, does a great job with his program, with his team. But they play at a high level. They have so much size, so much energy, and usually you go in kind of undermanned, even on the wings as it relates to being long and athletic. And they're going to put a lot of pressure on us in that building. And it's going to be interesting for this team, being that we have so many new parts, to see can they respond to that. And if we can respond to the pressure, they're going to try to assume us, get up in us. But if we can respond to that pretty well, I think that we have talented guys, don't get me wrong. It's just the experience in this early playing a team that you have a lot of guys coming back in that season that concerns me the most.
We have time for one more question for Coach Banks.
Marquette also returns now from last year's team, but two of those being starters. Do you see an advantage in that as well?
Say that again?
Marquette, they return now players from last year's team, but two of them being starters.
Well, they bring their best player off the bench, Gardner, and he's a starter. He plays starter minutes. They bring actually they start Mayo. You know, he come off the bench. He started some last year, but he played starters minutes. So they got a lot of guys that play 20-plus minutes a game last season, and you know, losing Blue and losing their starting point guard from last year, they still have guys that's very seasoned, started at different times for them, and that they're very comfortable with out there on the floor. So they got, you know, 7 real experienced guys coming back that played, been in the mix, had a great tournament run, and they in the top 20 for a reason, preseason pick.